So in today's news, between rainstorms, Fabrizio is making us a new vegetable garden. The ducks are here helping, as you can see, and he's just raking over this particular corner because we found it used to be a fire site. So we're going to plant it up with flowers for this season and not grow veg on an ex-fire site. So welcome back to the channel. It's a rainy Saturday in mid-June, so I thought I'm going to do lots of bitty jobs. So if you'd like, come along with me. I'm living on a flower farm here in not very sunny Somerset between fashionable Brewton and up-and-coming Wincanton. And we're almost at that time of year, there's a sort of hiatus where the seed sowing and the planting out is finally over for 2024 for the moment. And then we kind of go into just harvest until the end of September, somewhere between the end of September and mid-October. Then we have the Christmas rush, then we have a break, then we do it all again. And so one of the jobs I'm doing today is I'm sowing my biennials, which is how I steal a march upon next year. Once I've sown my biennials, I feel as though sowing biennials, I'm committing to flower farming for another year in midsummer. Sounds weird, but true. But I also hope, if all goes well, that I will have a nice crop for the spring. So once I've sown my biennials, whatever happens between now and next spring, so long as they survive, I will have a crop. I've kind of stolen a march. So come along with me for the day, and we'll see what we can see. And if you're new to the channel, you're very welcome. Please subscribe, press the bell icon, and I'll tell you when we've got more clips coming up. And if any of the tips and tricks we give you along the way are useful, you can always buy me a coffee, or better still, join my club. Really fun. Yesterday, I had my sowing biennials workshop. I do lots of online demos and workshops. And last evening, I did my biennials demo, which is now available as a download if you'd like. And I also have a YouTube club. And there were club members on the demo. And normally, if I'm talking to my clubbers on a live on a Thursday, for example, I can't see their faces. I can see the chat and engage that way, but I can't see their faces. Anyway, we do the workshops and the demos on Zoom. So when I put everybody on the gallery shape, I can see everybody. And it was brilliant. There was one of my club members who's been a clubber since really early days. We started the YouTube club in January 2022, 3? I can't remember. Anyway, one of the first members was a lady called Uppity is Hopeful. Great name for a YouTube handle. And there was Uppity on my demo last night. So it was really, really nice to meet her, even over the ether, to see put a face to the name is really lovely. Anyway, enough about that. Club members obviously get all my clips with a little bit extra. Everybody gets they get a little bit more detail. So if you look at my club versions of these clips, you'll always see that most of them are 2, 3, sometimes 10 minutes longer than the clips that go out to the general public. Oh, the rain. And the club members also get discounts on my website and sometimes discounts on other people's websites. And we have the live chats on Thursdays during term time. Anyway, enough of that. So do join in. But the funnest thing of all is there's always a really interesting chat in the comments at the end of every clip. So do make a comment and I will answer. On we go. And the weather is absolutely horrible. It's cold. It's about 12 degrees Celsius. And this rain is raining and raining and raining. So I'm just getting ready to sow my biennials. I've got 12 different varieties to sow. This is leftover. I had students here all week, but lovely. The reason I've not made a clip this week is because I had a 3-day workshop here, and lovely students. Cindy, all the way from Sonoma. Am I pronouncing it right? Sonoma, where Studdert, she grows flowers on the Studdert family farm. And then my cousin, Anna, all the way from New Zealand, where she's Field Blooms. And the lovely Chris, whose business is yet to launch, but was here to do research and get herself ready to go from not so far away in Hampshire. Anyway, we had a lovely 3 days, so I'm now clearing up, and I've got another 3-day workshop starting on Tuesday. And which will slow down the YouTubing. You know, if I've got people here, then I have to focus on the fact that I've got students here and tidy up after them a little bit. We had a really lovely time. We did lots of floristry on Thursday, and I had a bride collecting DIY flowers on Friday. And if you look at my Instagram, you'll see a reel I made with my students helping. We always do on the third day of the flower farming offensive, it's all the flower farming intensive workshop. The third day is always about cutting, conditioning and doing floristry. But it was really nice that I had a real life bride booked in. And so we did a real life affordable wedding. And I feel very strongly that it is possible to supply wedding flowers in a way which doesn't break the bank or cost the earth. And not everybody has huge amounts of money they want to spend on wedding flowers. And so the way that we do it is that we will cut mixed buckets in a way that will make a lovely wedding display, and then the customer collects on the Friday and they go and make the arrangements. And sometimes it feels too much, so we will do the bride's bouquet, the bridesmaids posies and the buttonholes. So my students and I did all of that together on Thursday, and then the bride collected yesterday and happily was delighted. Anyway, I'm going to sow my biennials here on this big old table while it's pouring with rain, and feel as though I'm stealing a march on next year. And normally I would make them in trays of water, but it is bucketing with rain. So I will sow my biennials in these trays with holes in and put them straight outside in this cold, wet weather to germinate. I will keep an eye on them. They will get very rained in this weather, and they'll be fine outside. If the weather gets hotter, I'll move them and make sure they don't dry out. But actually today, this pouring weather is quite a good day for seed sowing, if you're going to leave the trays outside to germinate. Obviously, the reason I'm not direct sowing, you could direct sow them, but the reason I'm not direct sowing them is those beds are full of this season's crop. So I'm getting ready to fill the beds with biennials when this season's over. Just on the subject of the weather, Fabrizio and I were talking about this today. This is the third very, very cold, wet very cold, wet summer we've had since we've lived here. We came here in 2004, so we've been at Common Farm for 20 years. And this is our third really, really cold, wet summer that we can remember. Every 7-ish years. So that is something I'm a very slow processor, so I didn't work that one out before. It's had to happen 3 times for me to notice it. But I will now go, oh yeah, every 6-7 years we get a really cold, wet summer. So that I will remember and will make note. And we'll see whether in 2031, 2, I will be ready for a cold, wet summer. It's difficult growing. It is difficult growing in this weather. A lot of the seedlings that I've planted out are just sitting there sulking. They're not growing. It's not an easy time, but and the slugs are all over the place, which is why we got the ducks. But the ducks are brilliant. Very happy with the ducks. In this grey weather though, the colours are very intense, aren't they? So the garden does look quite flowery, even though I would say not. Lots of nice feverfew for next weekend's weddings though. And even though I have cut and cut and cut the foxgloves, there will still be some for next weekend's weddings. Ooh, look, the brodia's coming again. Next weekend's weddings. Very pretty. And the sulky dahlias. But then they haven't been munched by the slugs because the ducks have done a really good job protecting them. But I think they could do with a feed. The floret zinnias that were sent to me by Snapdragon Jane, so far surviving predation by the slugs, but they've been in a fortnight and they're not big enough really to pinch out yet. Hello Silas Marner. And this is Roald Dahl. Lovely colour. Lots of little jobs going on in here. For example, Fabrizio has remade certain that it won't pop out work the Acme Common Farm Flowers watering system. Overhead watering we like, and then we don't overwater. It's kind of like a jungle in here. Sometimes it's worse than this, but it's nice to look at. Then I'll crop the sweet peas in here and water in here too. The place is unusually tidy because we've had garden tours and we're having our in-person workshops at the farm. Oops, might move the mower. Now, if you're interested, my friend and colleague, Higgledy Garden, Benjamin Ranyard, has a bundle on special offer, if you're in the UK, of biennial seeds. So, very good value. Do order from Higgers your biennials. How many to sow? Well, just remember how much space you've got. Don't oversow. But I am sowing a few extra on account of next year's Common Good plant sale is on the 10th of May. And if I got some really lovely foxgloves or sweet rocket in flower in pots for the plant sale, they'll make the plant sale look great. I'll have some high, most of the plants we sell at the plant sale are like little tiny seedlings. But if you can grow some height and some wow factor, looks brilliant when people come in, and they sell really, really quickly. So I'm going to oversow a little bit, bearing in mind that I'm also growing for next year's Common Good plant sale. Just, there's a thought. How do you label your seed trays? This year, I change a lot, depends on my mood, but this year I'm with an indelible pen on the side of the seed tray, and I have a little code, which means Wallflower Vulcan, Higgledy Garden, 15th of June. So very wet and very lush. The water tank's all filling up again. I'd say we're not done with the rain for the day. So I'm taking a punt and I'm leaving these seeds out to get thoroughly rained, and then I'll move them. And there we have a June Saturday at Common Farm Flowers. I'm now going to go and do family time because you can't work all the time. That's not the point. The point is to have time to sit on a bench and drink a cup of tea. Obviously, I've got to go and make the cup of tea. The point is not to work harder than everybody else in order to prove how tough you are, or make more money than everybody else in order to prove that somehow you're cleverer than everybody else. The point is to work hard enough to make enough money to pay for your life. And if, while you're at it, you can give a little back to your environment, then you'll be doing a good thing. Right, enough of this holier than thou stuff. Tea Cake and I are going to go off and have an afternoon of not working. And then we'll be all set for next week's floral retreat workshop, 3 days of floristry and 2 big weddings. And the following week we've got the rose workshop, which is online. Anyway, enough. Hope you've enjoyed this little clip, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye bye. Whoops, not quite sitting down time yet. I did say I'd cut the sweet peas, didn't I?